I am absolutely going to testify. I won't even say his name. He is an evil being and is going to pay.
The courtroom went dead silent. Then boom. Diddy's cool mask cracked wide open, his fists clenched, his jaw locked up. And when someone dropped Justin Bieber's name, the air turned electric. Everyone felt it. You could hear a pin drop. That was the exact second Diddy lost his grip on day 2 of the trial. And right after it came out that Bieber had publicly backed Cassie. Security had to jump in. Fast. What followed? Even the judge was stunned. Day 2 kicked off with this strange, fake calm. Diddy strutted in with his pricey legal squad, acting like everything was sweet. But something in his eyes gave him away. He wasn't good. He was scanning the whole room like he expected someone to jump out at him. Creepy.
I think that I was just, living in this shame, living in all this sort of stuff of my past, and I wasn't able to move on.
And let's talk security. They weren't playing games. Way more guards than day 1. One was posted right behind Diddy's chair, another blocking the aisle. It wasn't your average celebrity court setup. Word on the street, someone tipped them off something wild might go down. Then Cassie stepped in, and all heads turned. She wasn't wearing anything flashy, just a black dress with a crisp white collar.
Wow! I feel violated right now. Wow.
Lean into me again. You smell amazing. How old are you?
Thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 16. I'll be 17 in like 2 weeks.
I don't ever remember smelling that good at 16. Like that was bad.
Yeah.
Wow, look at your eyes. Look at what a beautiful...
Bieber turned 15, and it suddenly seemed that Hollywood was keen to almost initiate him. I think that's the right word. Like there was almost like this initiation that he needed to go through. So I want you to be now super uncomfortable and watch this video of an interaction between him and none other than Diddy. Take a listen.
Justin, you ever seen the movie The Times of Their Lives? Where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I have been given custody of him. He signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So and we gonna go full.
Young Justin Bieber, who was signed by Usher, involved with Scooter Braun. Now all of a sudden he's being put in the hands of Diddy, who, it is true, he became the legal guardian for Usher. You can look up all of the allegations of what Diddy did. The allegations are essentially that Diddy very much initiated Usher. As we are going through these lawsuits and Diddy is in prison, we are recognizing that everybody knew. This was an open secret about what Diddy was doing. So it just begs question, who allowed Justin Bieber to be in the presence of this man, knowing what he was up to?
But she walked in like a message. Powerful, but quiet. Her crew, not bodyguards, but her actual friends, walking tight around her like a wall. It was a vibe. You had Diddy with high-priced protection and Cassie with ride-or-die loyalty. That visual hit hard. But here's where it got real interesting. Diddy couldn't leave his phone alone. He kept pulling it out, scrolling like crazy. Every scroll, his face got darker. His energy dropped. At one point, his own lawyer reached over and snatched the phone from his hand.
Do you think the person that you of then was on a path of self-destruction?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%. Yeah. It would have been no bueno. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive, for sure. It was dark. So I'm very, very grateful to have influences in my life that have played a huge part in me seeing their relationship with Jesus and their relationship with their wives and their relationship with their kids and saying that's what I want. But I want to definitely tell my story so that if that resonates to anybody, that they can hopefully. But yeah, just protecting those moments because people take for granted encounters and
That's when I saw it. Diddy's hand, shaking, straight up trembling. The man was unraveling. Meanwhile, the prosecution team, they were scheming, passing little notes, whispering under folders, staying real low-key. One of them pulled something up on a tablet, showed it to the other, and they both nodded. Like boom, they got it. Whatever it was, they were sure. They looked like a crew who'd just cornered their target. Diddy's lead attorney had to talk him down at least 3 times before the judge even walked in. You could feel it coming. Something major was about to explode. Diddy's lawyer kept leaning over trying to calm him down, whispering stuff in his ear, laying a hand on his shoulder like, "Relax, we got this." But Diddy? He wasn't hearing none of it. He shrugged the guy off hard, not once, but every time. One of those times was so forceful the poor lawyer had to grip the table just to keep from falling over. The tension was insane. Then the judge walked in, and her face said it all. Back on day 1, she had that cool, controlled vibe like she wasn't worried. But today, she looked like a school principal who just got wind that the class clown had a firecracker in his bag. Her eyes locked right onto Diddy, no hesitation. She leaned in, whispered something to her clerk, and next thing you know, he nodded and picked up the phone. That's when it got real. What nobody in the room knew yet, Diddy had seen something online right before the session started. Something that completely rattled him. His team tried to keep his phone out of reach, but it was already too late. He'd seen Justin Bieber's post. The same Justin Bieber who used to be in his corner now showing love to Cassie. That hit Diddy hard. Then the bailiff called the room to order, and you could feel this weird energy settle in. Heavy. The kind of silence that crawls up your spine. Even the jurors were thrown off. They kept glancing at each other like, "Yo, what is going on?" One woman on the jury even asked for water, and when she reached out, her hand was shaking so bad it almost spilled. That's how tense it was. Meanwhile, Diddy sat there, stiff, staring straight ahead like a statue. But his leg was bouncing like crazy under the table. You could see a fat vein pulsing on his forehead. His lawyer kept trying to hand him files, maybe to calm him or distract him, but Diddy wasn't playing that game. He shoved the papers aside like they were trash. His eyes didn't move from whatever he was locked in on. His breathing, getting loud, sharp, like someone barely holding it together. It was like watching a bomb with a ticking timer, but no one knew how long was left. Every second stretched longer. People weren't even whispering anymore. All eyes were on Diddy. His whole polished image, seconds away from falling apart in front of everybody. While the courtroom was heating up, something explosive was going down online, and it hit like a lightning bolt. Out of nowhere, Justin Bieber dropped a bombshell on social media that nobody saw coming. Right in the middle of the trial, this dude posted a full-blown statement back in Cassie, and it shook everyone, from the industry to the courtroom. What made it sting even more?
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they loved me and, just turn their back on you in a second.
Bieber and Diddy weren't just casual friends. They had history. Deep history. Remember those old clips of young Bieber popping up at Diddy's wild parties? Diddy used to flex hard, calling himself Justin's big brother and mentor. He claimed he helped launch Bieber's whole career. So when Bieber came out against him, that wasn't just a statement, it was a betrayal that cut deep. And let's be clear, this wasn't some soft sending thoughts and prayers type of post. Nah, Bieber went in. He got real specific. He talked about being at industry parties where he personally saw Diddy act shady toward Cassie. He wrote about one time Diddy grabbed Cassie's arm way too rough at an after party. He said in 2015, he saw Diddy cut her off mid-sentence during interviews, talking over her like she didn't even matter. These weren't rumors. Bieber wasn't saying, "Someone told me." He was saying, "I saw this with my own eyes, firsthand, no filters, no sugarcoating." As soon as court hit its first recess, the internet lit up like fireworks. The posts were everywhere. People in the hallways started huddling in tight circles, passing around their phones like gossip gold. One court officer had to step in, telling folks to power down their devices before heading back inside. Legal teams, they were scrambling. Assistants started printing out screenshots on the spot for the lawyers to review. Even the jury caught wind of the drama. A few of them looked straight up puzzled, glancing around as whispers filled the air like static. Something major had landed, and nobody could ignore it. To top it off, the post came with this old throwback pic that hit different. It was from a music event years ago, Bieber and Cassie side by side, both smiling. But if you look close, Cassie's eyes told a whole other story, like she was smiling for the camera, but something behind those eyes didn't sit right.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time.
That photo said more than words ever could. Bieber's caption hit hard. He said he'd always admired Cassie's strength and dropped this gut punch of a line. "I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner." For Diddy, the timing could not have been worse. The post hit Bieber's 270 million followers like wildfire. Within minutes, the whole internet was buzzing. News sites snatched it up immediately. This wasn't just celebrity drama anymore. This was a megastar with real clout picking a side while the trial was still happening. Court reporters? They went wild. One woman straight up bolted out of the courtroom to call her editor. Another was typing so fast, her laptop looked like it was about to catch fire. Across the aisle, a big-name network reporter mouthed, "Did you see it?" to her coworker. Everybody in that room knew the case had just shifted. This post changed the game. No turning back. Whispers turned into straight-up chatter. People couldn't stay quiet. The bailiff had to step in and tell folks to calm down, but they couldn't help it. Phones were out, screens were glowing. People were shoving them toward each other like, "Yo, look at this!" Some eyes were locked on Diddy, trying to read his face. Others turned to Cassie, who sat there cool as ice, still, silent, unfazed, like she already knew what was coming. What made Bieber's post hit even harder? The words he chose. He called Cassie brave and truthful. He wrote, "Certain behaviors I witnessed years ago troubled me deeply, but I didn't understand the pattern they represented." Then came the heavy part. He said he was disappointed in himself for not seeing the signs sooner.
Yeah, so, yeah. I just want to protect her, you know? I don't want her to lose it. I don't want her to, you know, go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. So, yeah, if she ever needs me, I mean, just think about how young I was and so impressionable. And you have everybody telling me how awesome I am at all times, you know? And like,
It's like taking a kid and putting a kid in a room full of nothing but sweets.
Right.
And just saying, "I'll be back in 2 days."
Exactly. I just want people to understand, like, the psychology behind why I potentially could have problems in my life.
That kind of honesty, rare. And it made people take his side seriously. This wasn't just a shout-out. It was an admission, a reckoning. Diddy's legal team moved quick. One of his attorneys saw the post first and jumped into full damage control mode. He literally blocked Diddy's view of another lawyer's phone and whispered something intense, probably telling them to clear all devices off the table now. But it was already done. Someone had slipped Diddy a phone, and he saw it with his own eyes. His face changed instantly. Eyes wide, mouth clenched, no poker face. People sitting close could see it, the exact second he realized what Bieber had just done. Whatever mask he was wearing, gone. It was already way too late.
When you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing.
When Diddy laid eyes on Bieber's post, you could see the switch flip in real time. His whole face changed. First came the shock. His eyes went wide, and his jaw literally dropped open. He looked frozen, like he couldn't believe what he was reading. Then his brows pinched together, tight, as the sting of betrayal set in. But the scariest part? That shock turned into pure rage. His nostrils flared like a bull ready to charge, and his jaw locked so hard it looked like he might crack a tooth. One woman, sitting just 3 rows back, later told reporters she saw Diddy's hands shaking so bad they looked out of control. His lawyer tried handing him a few documents, maybe to ground him, maybe to distract him, but it didn't work. Diddy reached for them, but couldn't keep a grip. The papers slipped through his fingers and hit the floor, scattering everywhere. That's when the entire courtroom took notice. People turned, eyes locked in, watching it all unfold like a slow-motion meltdown. Then came the real red flag. Diddy stood up. not a normal stand-up to stretch move. This was sharp, sudden, and aggressive. The bailiff, who'd clearly been keeping an eye on him all morning, stepped in right away. You could tell this guy had seen this kind of blow-up brewing before. And then Diddy said it, loud enough for folks in the front row to catch. After everything I did for that kid, he was talking about Bieber. Loyalty means nothing anymore. Then he mumbled something about consequences, and whatever it was enough for his lawyer to panic. The attorney grabbed Diddy's arm and yanked him back down into his seat. He leaned in, whispering something fast and urgent, but Diddy just shook his head like he didn't care. His breathing turned rough, loud. He was huffing like someone who just sprinted up 10 flights of stairs. And that face, you couldn't miss it. Even the sketch artist picked up on it. The courtroom drawings from that moment were chilling. Bulging eyes, veins jumping out of his neck, jaw so tight it looked like stone. One of the sketch artists even said, "In 12 years of doing this, I've never seen someone look that intense in real life."
My assistant was like, you know, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to f*** you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay.
And it wasn't just the artist watching. The prosecution saw everything. The lead prosecutor made a subtle hand signal to her assistant, who stood up immediately and slipped out through the side door like they were activating a backup plan. Later, we found out what the prosecutor's sudden move was really about. She was fast-tracking a key witness, someone who could speak directly to what Bieber had exposed in that bombshell post. No time to waste. Behind the scenes, courtroom security was on high alert. You could see it without a word, just the looks they gave each other. Two guards subtly shifted positions, moving in closer to Diddy's table like they were bracing for something without setting off alarms. One of them even unclipped a strap on his belt. Not pulling anything out, but definitely ready to. That told you everything. Tension was through the roof. And Diddy. The transformation was unreal. Earlier that morning, he was sitting all proud, posture straight, nodding along with his lawyers, even scribbling little notes like he had it all under control. But now, he looked like a man coming apart at the seams, fidgeting nonstop, rubbing his face over and over, loosening his tie like he couldn't breathe. Then it happened. The moment that pushed everything off the edge. Diddy suddenly slammed his hand on the table. Hard. The sound echoed through the room as his water glass tipped, crashed, and shattered on the courtroom floor. People jumped. A court reporter nearby flinched so hard she dropped her pen. But the wildest part? Diddy muttered something under his breath, and the reporter sitting close heard it clear as day. "I'll make sure he never works in this town again. Neither of them will." He didn't say names, but it wasn't hard to guess, Bieber and Cassie. His lawyer instantly threw an arm around him, trying to hold him down in his seat like the man was about to bolt. The judge wasn't having any of it. She slammed her gavel and called for a 15-minute recess on the spot. But if she thought that break would help Diddy cool off, she guessed wrong. That pause just gave him more time to stew in the heat of his own rage.
You know, there's a short life in
Why do you think that is with the creative side?
Well, because losing out money, you got to take drugs. You're going through so much shit to try and deal with life. You are literally, it's an unhealthy space. And so eventually you're going to go too far, you know? Who knows what happened to Philip? Who knows what he had to do in order to get to where he was at? There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head, you know? But when you lose your man card.
His legal team huddled tight around him, whispering like crazy, their faces pure panic. Meanwhile, Cassie, when court resumed, she walked in like she was carrying a whole new energy. Gone was the quiet, head-down version of her from day one. This time, she stepped toward the witness stand with her shoulders back and her chin lifted. She didn't flinch, didn't fumble. She looked the jury right in the eyes. And when it came to Diddy, she didn't even blink. No fear, no attention. Like he was just some regular dude, not even worth her glance. Then the prosecution brought out the real punch. New evidence. Stuff nobody in that courtroom had seen yet. They pulled up a string of text messages between Diddy and Cassie, and the room gasped. One exchange from 2016 showed Diddy firing off 17 messages in a row, all demanding to know why she wasn't answering her phone. It was obsessive, controlling. People were stunned. This wasn't just testimony anymore. This was proof.
Guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head. The things that they did, no matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you gave up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up every way to try and get rid of any principles there are. And that's what the business does.
One of the next messages shown in court sent chills through the room. Diddy had texted Cassie asking for her exact location, down to the room number at a hotel. One message read, "I need to know where you are. Every minute. That's the deal. If you want to keep your career." The courtroom went dead silent. You could literally hear the ceiling fans above. It was that quiet. Then Cassie began describing how deep the control really went. She said Diddy had an actual list of male artists she wasn't allowed to speak to unless he was standing right there. And guess who was on that list? Justin Bieber. She told the court, "When I asked why, he told me not to question him. When I did anyway, he grabbed my arm in front of everyone at the after party and whispered that I'd regret it." But here's what shook people even more. Cassie didn't tremble. Not once. Her voice was strong, steady, unshaken. She laid it all out, how she was isolated, watched, and manipulated. Everything she described, it lined up exactly with what Bieber had just exposed online. The constant monitoring, the public domination, the quiet threats in private, every detail matched. It was like puzzle pieces clicking into place. Yet Cassie testified that she hadn't spoken to Bieber in years. That hit different. When the prosecutor asked why she hadn't come forward earlier, her response cracked through the room like thunder. "He told me nobody would believe me. He said he controlled who worked in this industry and who didn't. I watched him make calls that ended people's careers."
48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream.
That statement landed. Two jurors visibly reacted. One woman teared up and wiped her eyes, while an older man scribbled in his notebook and underlined it 3 times. Then came the bombshell. Prosecutors rolled out hotel security footage from 2018. It showed Cassie trying to talk to a male artist in a hotel lobby. Moments later, Diddy appeared, wrapped his arm around her, and led her away. The courtroom gasped again. The body language. It mirrored exactly what Cassie had just described minutes before. As soon as the footage played, Diddy leaned into his lawyer, whispering fast and pointing at the screen like he was trying to come up with a way to spin it. But the damage was done. Cassie wasn't just telling stories. She was backing them up with dates, places, and receipts. She named moments with pinpoint accuracy. March 8th, 2017 at the Standard Hotel in New York. June 22nd, 2017 at his house in Miami. September 12th, 2018, backstage at the VMAs. Every time she dropped a date, Diddy's lawyer flipped frantically through his notes, visibly rattled, like they hadn't prepared for any of this. And then she hit them with one more reveal. Cassie said other people who'd stayed quiet for years were now finally stepping up. Witnesses who had been too afraid before? They were now contacting her legal team, ready to talk. The walls weren't just closing in on Diddy, they were collapsing. Cassie dropped a line that sent chills through the courtroom. After seeing Bieber's support, my phone hasn't stopped. People keep messaging me saying they're finally ready to talk about what they saw. That one sentence flipped the entire vibe. But it was what came next that pushed Diddy over the edge. She testified that after she once spoke to Bieber at an industry event, Diddy pulled her aside and told her, "Even Justin knows what happens to people who cross me." With Bieber now publicly backing her up, that old threat suddenly looked real bad. That one line turned into a massive red flag, loud and clear for everyone in the courtroom. And while Cassie kept laying it all out with a calm, unshaken tone, Diddy was falling apart. You could see it happening in real time. Every time she mentioned something that lined up with Bieber's post, Diddy twitched a little more.
16.
Slow down. Let's slow down, Justin.
Okay.
Let's slow down, okay?
One step at a time.
But yeah, the keys is yours when you get 16. You good to go.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
And then when you get 18, you get the house. Get the mansion.
Okay. Get the mansion.
He was whispering nonstop to his lawyer, shifting in his seat, tapping the table, straight panic. The powerful, untouchable music mogul now looked like a man losing his grip. Then, when it felt like the tension couldn't go any higher, the prosecutor walked right into the center of the room holding a folder. She said, "Your Honor, we'd like to present evidence that directly contradicts Mr. Combs' claim that Ms. Ventura made these allegations up recently." The courtroom froze. She pulled out her tablet and hooked it up to the courtroom screen system. Instantly, all the monitors lit up, showing a string of private text messages between Justin Bieber and Cassie from 2017. The room went dead silent. Jurors leaned forward, eyes glued to the screens. And when the prosecutor zoomed in on one specific exchange, mouths dropped. Cassie had written, "I don't know what to do anymore. He monitors everything. He said if I talk to anyone, he'll make sure I never work again." And Bieber responded, "This isn't normal, Cass. What he's doing isn't okay. You need to talk to someone who can help."
You good?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, young brother, everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything? Starting to act different, huh?
No,
You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really got my number, so.
Okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah.
It's 5.
That was it. That was the moment Diddy snapped. He shot up from his seat so fast, the chair scraped across the floor with a loud screech, making everyone in the room jump. His face turned bright red, eyes bulging like he was about to explode. The man who walked in like a legend? Gone. Just rage and panic out there for the whole world to see. Diddy's attorney lunged toward him, grabbing his arm and whispering just loud enough for the front row to catch it. "Sean, don't do this." But Diddy wasn't hearing anything. He jerked his arm away so hard, his lawyer stumbled back like he'd been shoved, and he had. Then Diddy snapped. He pointed straight at Cassie and shouted, "This is all lies. You know damn well that's not what happened." His voice cracked the silence like thunder. "Where's your loyalty? After everything I did for you?" he screamed, and it only escalated from there. "You're making this all up, both of you." His volume climbed with every word, his anger hitting full blast. The judge wasted no time. She banged her gavel 3 times, hard. "Mr. Combs, sit down immediately or I will have you removed." Her voice sliced through the courtroom like a blade. But Diddy, still raging, still yelling. Security officers moved in fast. One stepped right between Diddy and Cassie, forming a human wall to make sure nothing went down.
I was coming off of being in Miami a night of partying. I don't really remember what I was saying. You know what I'm saying?
Would you like a reminder?
Yeah, sure.
Play some.
Hey, yo, listen, yo, I love it all. I love it all, man.
I like when you like this, Daddy.
Yeah, where you put my bag?
Daddy, I like when you scrambling and scraping.
That was you.
Scrambling.
What? You said, "I like when you do it like that, Daddy. When you scrambling and scraping."
Hey, man.
I don't know what I was talking about.
Nah. I mean,
You don't go back and look at that stuff and laugh?
I mean, it could be funny. I don't really be on it like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
The second officer flanked Diddy from behind, closing the gap tight. You could feel the courtroom pulse with tension. Reporters were typing like mad, trying to catch every second of the meltdown. The jury, stunned, completely frozen. One older woman in the back row raised a hand to her mouth, eyes wide in disbelief. A younger male juror sitting in the front literally leaned his whole body away from Diddy, like the outburst was physically pushing him back. Diddy's lawyer tried to reel it in, shouting, "Your Honor, we need a recess." But by then, the scene was spiraling. Diddy spun toward the screen showing the Bieber-Cassie messages and started pointing wildly. "Those are fake. They fabricated those messages," he yelled. "This is a setup. Justin never said that." His voice was bouncing off the walls, echoing across the room like sirens. It was chaos, but the damage was done. Those messages were a serious blow to Diddy's entire defense. They weren't just words. They were proof that Cassie had been confiding in someone years before ever filing anything legal. Her conversations with Bieber directly backed up her story and completely shut down the claim that she made all this up for money or fame. And now, in the middle of the courtroom, Diddy was unraveling for all to see, screaming, accusing, losing every ounce of control. The judge slammed her gavel again, harder this time, trying to restore order. But the image of Diddy, red-faced, yelling about fake messages while the jury watched in shock, that moment was going to be burned into everyone's memory. And maybe, just maybe, it sealed the direction this trial was heading. "Remove the jury immediately," Judge Marlowe ordered, her voice sharp and commanding. The 12 jurors filed out, but not without throwing one last stunned look at Diddy, still standing, still shouting. His entire vibe had flipped from confident mogul to a man completely losing it in front of the world. Security didn't waste a second. 2 guards closed in, one on each side. "Sir, you need to calm down now," one of them said, firm but professional, placing a steady hand on Diddy's shoulder. For a split second, it looked like Diddy might actually swing. His body tensed, his fists clenched. The whole courtroom froze, but instead of lashing out, he finally went quiet. Just stood there, chest heaving, breathing like he'd just run a marathon.
We've become friends in a strange way, you know?
Like Robin Big.
Yeah, it's like, exactly.
I'm big and you're Robin.
Yeah, no, I mean, to a lot of us, he's like a little brother. You know what I'm saying? He's not afraid to call and ask for advice. He's somebody that, in the industry-wise, the record industry is a strong family, and he's somebody that, you know, we definitely have our arms around, and we want to protect him because he's such genuinely a nice person besides his talent. You know what I'm saying? He's one of the greatest kids that you could ever.
That's when it hit him. Everything he'd just done had played out in front of cameras, reporters, court officials, and most importantly, the jury. It was over. The image he'd carefully built over decades, gone, shattered. The cool, collected industry boss, replaced with a version of himself that the public had never seen and couldn't unsee. And with security flanking both sides, that new image was burned into the courtroom like a brand. With the jury out, Judge Marlowe didn't waste a second. She stood up from behind the bench, looked Diddy dead in the eye, and dropped a line that hit like a heavyweight punch. "Mr. Combs, this is a court of law, not a recording studio. You do not control what happens here." Her voice sliced through the silence like a razor. She wasn't done, not even close. "One more outburst like that, and I will hold you in contempt. You'll spend the rest of this trial in a cell, making appearances only when absolutely necessary." Then came the real consequences. Judge Marlowe ordered a full psychiatric evaluation before the next day's session. She didn't stop there. New courtroom rules went into effect immediately. 2 officers would remain within arm's reach of Diddy at all times. His legal team couldn't even talk to him without an officer standing close. On top of that, all phone privileges were revoked. Completely. No calls, no texts, no outside communication. Across the room, Diddy's legal team looked like they'd been blindsided. They huddled in the corner like a football team getting stomped in the 4th quarter. The lead attorney just shook his head in disbelief. Another lawyer was on the phone, pacing like he was begging for backup. A third one scribbled notes like mad, glancing up at Diddy with a look that screamed, "We're in deep trouble." Their faces, their posture, everything said it. They knew this wasn't just a setback. It was a disaster. A game-changing, headline-snatching, case-breaking moment. And when the jury finally came back in, their expressions said it all. Shock, discomfort, maybe even fear. Whatever story Diddy's team had been trying to sell before, that version was dead. One juror, a middle-aged woman sitting right up front, subtly slid her chair a few inches away from Diddy's defense table. She didn't say a word, but the body language spoke volumes. Another juror, an older man who had been diligently taking notes since day one, now sat frozen with his arms crossed, his pen untouched on the table. But the real shift came from juror number 8.
Let's talk about the fact that Combs' co-defendant in a civil case, a case, by the way, that accuses him and this co-defendant, another A-lister, of rape. This guy is once again slamming the attorney behind the case, insisting that he be sanctioned for allegedly not doing his job. We're talking, of course, about Sean Carter, better known as Jay-Z, once again calling out attorney Tony Busby, calling out his character, more specifically into question, claiming that the Texas attorney's filings have, quote, substantial. Now, we've talked about this before, but basically, a civil lawsuit was filed against Sean Combs on behalf of a Jane Doe who says that she was raped by Combs and another celebrity at a home after the Video Music Awards in 2000.
A young professional who on the first day had actually smiled at Diddy. Now, he wouldn't even look in his direction. Across the aisle, the prosecution team kept their expressions locked in, stone-faced, cool under pressure. But if you looked close, you could feel their confidence growing. The lead prosecutor calmly shuffled her papers, glancing up at Diddy from time to time with what looked a lot like quiet satisfaction. Her assistant even had to cover a grin with her hand at one point. They didn't say a word, but the vibe said it all. They knew the case had just taken a dramatic turn in their favor. As for security, they stopped pretending to play it cool. 2 officers now stood directly behind Diddy's chair. No more subtlety. Their presence was heavy and intentional. Another guard posted up at the courtroom door, hand resting on his belt, watching everyone who moved. The message was loud and clear. Diddy wasn't getting another inch of free rein. No one was willing to take a chance after that outburst. Even the gallery was buzzing, quietly but intensely. Legal experts in attendance were losing it. A former federal prosecutor leaned over to the person next to him and whispered, "He just lost right there." That was it. Law professors scribbled like mad in their notebooks, some shaking their heads in disbelief. One well-known defense attorney, who'd handled other major cases, muttered, "Amateur hour," while watching Diddy unravel from across the room. And through all this chaos, Cassie sat motionless, calm, composed. A total contrast to everything happening on the other side of the courtroom. No tears, no gloating, no flinching, just silent strength. Like she already knew the truth was doing all the work for her. Cassie sat there like a statue, shoulders back, hands folded in her lap, face unreadable. When Diddy exploded in court, she didn't even blink. No reaction, no flinch, no fear. She gave him nothing. The difference between them couldn't have been more obvious. Her calm composure versus his total breakdown. It was like watching control and chaos sit across from each other. By the end of day 2, the energy had completely flipped. That morning, Diddy walked in like he ran the show, rocking a tailored designer suit, grinning like he had it all under control. But by the time court adjourned, he looked wrecked. His tie was loose, shoulders slumped, surrounded by lawyers who looked completely drained, like they just walked through a storm. Diddy kept his head down, eyes glued to the floor, avoiding the sea of reporters stacked outside the hallway. And then came the moment that said it all. His lead attorney gently placed a hand on his back, trying to guide him out of the courtroom. Diddy shrugged it off, just like he had earlier that morning. But this time, it didn't come from swagger. It came from defeat. What we witnessed in that courtroom wasn't just a battle of facts, it was a full display of character. Cassie stayed steady, unshaken. Meanwhile, Diddy unraveled in front of the judge, the jury, the press, everyone. And when Justin Bieber, someone from inside Diddy's circle, chose to stand with Cassie, it only made that contrast louder. The pressure exposed their true selves, and Diddy cracked. Let's be real. The jury saw it all. They watched Diddy lose control, lash out, and throw around threats like it was a backstage tantrum instead of a courtroom. That one moment might have sealed the verdict already. Doesn't matter what evidence rolls in next. People don't forget something like that. But the biggest question now? Who's next? Justin Bieber just broke one of the most unspoken rules in the industry. Don't go against your own. But he did. loudly, publicly. And now that he's opened that door, don't be surprised if more people step forward and follow. This story isn't over yet, and trust, more names might be coming. If you found this wild breakdown as insane as we did, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to catch up. And don't forget to tap that notification bell so you don't miss what happens next. See you on the next one.